fights back, giving them their freedom. People say, even about immigration, people think I'm against immigration. I'd open the British Embassy tomorrow in Saudi Arabia and I'd let every woman leave. Let them all come over here and leave every Muslim man scratching his head going, what's going on? Well, you lot are acting like cavemen, yeah? Yeah. So that's why the women are leaving you, right? The only reason why they can't leave, and the only reason why Islam still grows in number, is because it's punishable by death, even today. Yeah. If you leave Islam, you're killed, yeah? That is why. So Muslims, I don't hate Muslims, and do you know what? There's so many Muslims who grew up with me in Luton who know that, yeah? Who have a very good relationship with me.
Oi, tell me, what?
All the groups, the most important one by a mile was the English Defence League, British Freedom Party. That was a serious, systematic, hugely funded effort by a section of the ruling elite, by this Zionist neocon clique, to dominate, to simply take over nationalism and turn it into their tool to encourage the white working class to go and fight their wars, and so that when the banking collapse comes, people are looking in the wrong direction instead of the real culprits. This party, we were approached. I was approached. We were offered money from the United States, and all they wanted was two things. They only wanted us to concentrate on Islam, and they wanted us only to focus on that, and it only came with one other thing. They wanted us to drop our criticism of the banking system. Those were the only two things. We had to concentrate on talking about Muslims, and we had to drop our criticism of the international banking system.
We've done elections before when we've lost by one vote, and then somebody comes to you in the street afterwards and says, "Oh, if I knew it was that close, I'd have voted for you." Yeah. If you could knock their heads off, quite literally.
But, indeed so. Yeah.
But you don't. You just potter on. Now, I alluded to it earlier. Spoke a little bit about Tommy Robinson and the fact that you've been in this on the scene since you were a small boy. You've gained virtually nothing from it. You've suffered a lot. You've been with us right through the whole cause, and you're sticking with us. I think that's very important. Robinson sold out his people. Yep. Do you have any comments to make on that?
Well, he came along with a little bit of style and a lot of front, and convinced people he was, the saviour, the great white hope. There was an opinion poll just the other day, actually, who most speaks for England, and I was in there at 6%. He was there at 5%. I'll tell you what, over the next couple of weeks, he was shown on television yesterday, meekly taking his shoes off and walking into a mosque wearing his Union Jack socks. I'm going to have the rest of that vote of his, because it's ours, actually. And, he came along, he's been puffed up, hyped up by their Zionist backers, by the mass media, now by these fake moderate Muslims. Whether they're certainly fake, they're either run by the British government, or they're in fact hardliners wearing a soft mask. One way or another, yet again, he's a tool for someone else. I'm not used by anybody other than by the British National Party. That's always the way it's going to stay that way.
Worryingly, I think for his supporters who've given their details over, I mean, that's going to be a bit of a problem, because they're now in the hands of the establishment, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely so. Well, one of the things the Quilliam Foundation has gone on record as saying is that it's taxpayer funded, therefore it should work with the police to hand over details of people it regards as extremists. It regards everyone in the EDL who's not with them, Tommy and his uncle, as extremists, so all those people are in the frame. Now, of course, it never had a formal membership structure, so people are saying, oh, well, there's no harm, no damage. But of course, in the early days, Tommy and co made a huge amount of money out of selling clothing. You can't send someone an Oxford EDL division jacket without having their name and address. So all their all their email details are there, all their Facebook details, they've got all of those. They've been harvesting email addresses and so on, and they've got the names and addresses of thousands of people. Anyone who's ever bought a badge, they've got them all. It's now all in the hands of the British state. And I'll tell you what, the vast majority of people in the English Defence League are really decent, mainly working class patriots, really decent people. It's a tragedy that they've been conned and led down that blind alley. It's terrible that their details, when they've done nothing wrong, they have been committed to peaceful protest. Yeah, when you get 2,000 or 3,000 lads together and then the police treat them like cattle and sheep and worse, of course they end up scuffling with the police and so on. It's the way that they're treated that's done that primarily. I've seen some of their smaller demos, when they've been treated decently, they're a bit boisterous, but they're peaceful. Those people committed to peaceful protest have been treated terribly badly, and they're now having their names and addresses and details given over to the British state. All I can say is actually, well, we did warn you, because it's now, 3 years since we produced the document showing exactly what Tommy Robinson was, exactly who he was working with and why, and if people didn't listen, in a way they've got themselves to blame, but I still feel sorry for those huge numbers of people, particularly for the time they've wasted. All I can say is, stop wasting time. By all means, stay involved with one of the successor street protest groups, but let's face it, in the end, street protest is only part of the war. It's one arm in a peaceful protest militancy, and the other arm is political protest, it's electioneering, it's working in local communities for local people. It's all the things that you do, that I do, that our party does. And I'd say to those people, stop messing around and get involved with the British National Party. If you want to hit back at Tommy and his controllers,
get gear out.
And this has to be told. I mean, there's been tweets about it, but I have to tell the story of how Nick Lowles first came to have my telephone number, because to me, that is the most interesting aspect of this. How did Nick Lowles get my telephone number? And I'll tell you how he got my telephone number. The mole that Tommy keeps talking about, Mr. Robert Haynes.
So he provided the number. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about Mr. Robert Haynes, the mole. Now, funnily enough, Tommy's not named him as the mole, but anyone that knows Rob Haynes will know the voice that's been showed in the videos. So Rob Haynes, I understand he was London EDL, old days, early days time. He used to go to Speaker's Corner. He introduced himself to me out the blue, must have been 5-6 years ago. We ended up swapping numbers, and he ended up calling me really regularly, like every other day, on the phone for hours, telling me about his life's tribulations, this, that, and the other. I have to say he's unemployed, and I think he's an alcoholic as well. Now, he, few years into these conversations, revealed to me that he was in contact with Nick Lowles. He then, next move was, he started nagging me. Speak to Nick, Steve. Go and speak to Nick. And I used to say to Rob, I said, why are you speaking to Nick Lowles? And he never really gave me a clear answer other than, well, I give him information on Tommy and then I get a bit of information back. And it both serves a purpose, that we both help each other out. So that's your mole that was feeding Nick Lowles information on Tommy Robinson for years and years and years. Anyway, as I said, he nagged me to get in contact with Nick. I think in the end, I just gave up and said, I'll give him a bloody number. And that's when the first text message came through. Now, Rob Haynes has various pseudonyms online. Another one is Terry Cosgrove. Another one was Sammy the Jew. Now, if anyone that's been keeping abreast of what's been going on over the last 6 months or so, Sammy the Jew was a Twitter account that was actively tweeting anti-Tommy memes. Some of them quite funny, quite frankly, because often he would send them to me before sending them out to get my view, get my comments on them. So Sammy the Jew was actively tweeting out these very, very anti-Tommy memes. They were desperate to find out who Sammy the Jew was, and there are even messages that again have been published over the last week of Hal Gower messaging Sammy the Jew, desperately trying to find out who he is. Now, again, I've shared screenshots that beyond doubt prove that Sammy the Jew is the same person as Rob Haynes. So Sammy the Jew, constantly tweeting out anti-Tommy memes, now ends up being the alleged mole that has spoken to Tommy and made this bullshit up against me. That is the reality of what had happened. I knew I knew Sammy /Rob /Terry was turning because his mood suddenly changed. He started saying things that were anti-Nick and things that were supportive of Tommy. All of a sudden, I think it was on the 7th or 8th of July, his accounts all went down. The Sammy the Jew account went. The other one that Rob uses on Twitter went down. I sent Rob a WhatsApp message that, again, I've shared publicly saying, what's happened? Is Sammy sitting on the naughty step, i.e., as he said something naughty and his Twitter suspended him? Because that had happened once or twice before. I don't think I got a response. I then responded back saying, or has someone been sniffing? To which Sammy, Rob responded saying, yes, they have, so I've closed down all my accounts. Within less than a week of that moment, the video comes out from Tommy with Sammy /Rob's voice on it as the mole. Now, anyone tell me that that doesn't all stink? Someone who was allegedly a Tommy supporter, phoning me regularly, approaching me out the blue at Speaker's Corner, nagging me to contact Nick Lowles. Eventually there is contact between me and Nick, and then suddenly this big story launches.
Okay.
Which is why
Steve,
I'm desperate to know what source is Manny talking about, because I wonder in what way it confirms or contradicts any of what I've just said there.
Is that mole genuine? Is that mole actually somebody who works for Hope Not Hate? Because that was one thing I was wondering about this documentary.
So the voice that is included in the video of the mole is Rob Haynes' voice,
and he's not Hope Not Hate, is it?
Well, I've just described what this guy has been doing with me over the last 5 or 6 years.
So he's a Tommy supporter.
He was a Tommy supporter, but someone who had been, Rob told me that he'd been in contact with Nick Lowles for
Tommy actually did a public announcement saying we're going to have Ali Dawa, one of Tommy's arch nemesis, come and speak on stage. He did this announcement on Facebook, and he told Lucy, invite Ali Dawa, make a poster for him, bring him to the event.
Will Ali Dawa be speaking?
Yes, Ali Dawa will be speaking. He's our surprise Idiot of the Day guest.
But as soon as Tommy posted that Facebook video, he got incensed reactions from his audience. A lot of football lads, a lot of people that felt Tommy was betraying his criticisms of Islam, betraying his ideals by inviting this guy. And within less than an hour, Tommy deleted this Facebook video. Just pretended he never uploaded it. Gone, right? Deleted all of the posts he made about Ali Dawa coming, got rid of them all. The event comes the next day. Ali Dawa shows up for his scheduled speaking time. I think Count Dankula even posted a photo of the speakers list where it showed Ali Dawa's speaking slot.
God, they've actually got Ali Dawa. It's happening, it's happening. This is fantastic.
Tommy's, it's hard to talk about because obviously this is, I believe there are so many legitimate concerns about Islam. I think there are so many people in the UK that are conservative, that truly, deserve a voice, but there were some bad actors there that were Tommy supporters, that when Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hajib, I think was his friend, when they showed up to give their speech, they got beat up. They got beat up and dragged out of the Day for Freedom event.
No, did Lucy say you could come?
Yeah.
Wait.
Struggling. Hey. What are you struggling with? The weather or?
Yes, the weather.
What are you struggling with?
I can't say. And it's my lips are sealed, ironically.
Get the camera out of his face.
I was invited today. No, you back off! Because I want to speak about freedom of speech. There you go.
Do you let us speak? Yes. No, you don't. When did you ever stand up for us to have our say? You really don't.
Come on,
The free speech event that's supposed to be for conservatives, supporting the free marketplace of ideas. Meanwhile, all of us make fun of Antifa for needing to resort to violence. That event resulted in right-wingers beating up Muslims for wanting to speak freely. Everyone becomes a hypocrite, hey? But that actually wasn't that was a terrible, terrible part of that event. Horrible part of that event. But that actually wasn't one of the worst things that happened. After Ali Dawa got beat up and dragged out of the event, a lot of people publicly wanted an explanation. Why did Ali Dawa show up, Tommy? Why did he think he was going to get this free area to speak his horrendous ideas in front of a crowd? And Tommy publicly said,
I'd be happy if my right to freedom of speech, where I was invited today, would happen today. If it doesn't, you know what that means?
You're on the menu.
Clearly said Ali Dawa was not invited to speak. 3 posts saying he's categorically not invited to speak. Now, those posts were removed from my Facebook. I didn't remove them. An admin removed them. Why? I don't know. But they were removed.
Just completely lied. I don't even dislike Tommy. I just dislike the fact that he did this stuff.
And this is where I absolutely have to call out Tommy Robinson for posting completely fake news to his Facebook profile. In a video Tommy Robinson posted the other day, it says in the beginning, Mohammed Hijab assaults police. The description of the video says, Muslim MMA fighter turns up to provoke trouble at the Day of Freedom, and his film crew live stream him hitting a police officer. #own goal. That is completely disingenuous.
He came out and publicly said, I would never invite Ali Dawa. Never in a million years. I would never invite that moron to come speak at my event.
Lucy, you're lying, Lucy. Stop.
What do you mean I'm lying?
You said to me to delete the tweet because you wanted to introduce him.
Go on, off you go, you fucking coward.
In fact, not only did I not invite him, he was secretly invited behind my back by Lucy Brown, who is this horrible left-wing Antifa spy that is trying to destroy our movement. Oh, where have we heard this story before, am I right? And he pinned all the blame for this on Lucy. Said she did it behind his back, was secretly working against him.
Oh, it makes you question how long herself or others have been conspiring or working together. We'll soon see anyway, won't we? But yeah, I should have took the warnings. Everyone tried to warn me. Everyone warned me.
And what came of this was just horrendous. Lucy randomly just started seeing all of these tweets all over her timeline, all over Facebook, saying she was a disgusting whore, a snake, that she had betrayed the movement, how dare she, and just started panicking. I've talked to her about this 1,000 times, but it wasn't until 3 days later that she found out that Tommy had also fired her from her job. She'd given up everything. She was quite a successful photographer. She had really good opportunities. She was a young, beautiful girl with a whole future ahead of her, and she had thrown it all away to work for Tommy because she believed in what he was doing, just to be fired out of nowhere so that Tommy could keep up public appearances. That, of course I didn't invite Ali Dawa. Lucy was a secret snake that did all of this. And he obviously, to back that up, he couldn't just keep her employed. That would look crazy. People would be like, why are you still employing this woman who's a snake who went behind your back? So he fired her. He fired her to keep up the public appearance of this lie he told. That video of him saying he invited Ali Dawa exists. It's out there. But no one bothered to look for it. They just completely believed, once again, what their idol at the front of the movement, it's Tommy Robinson, how could he do any wrong? They just believed him and took a stand against Lucy. Lucy's life was destroyed. There's no other way of putting it. Absolutely destroyed. She had to go on to government assistance. She had a massive mental health collapse after all of the stuff that she sacrificed her life for. Everyone turned against her. She had to move back in with her parents, got extremely ill, going to counseling, almost killed herself. She did nothing wrong. She did nothing wrong. And she kept trying to tell the truth and just say, no, like, we should have let him speak. That was the plan from the beginning, and no one believed her. They all took a stand against her.